The crew of Artemis 2 coming back to planet Earth. Splashdown scheduled for 9 hours, 44 minutes, and 21 seconds from right now. Boy, it has been an exciting mission and return to the moon. And the race to the moon is officially on again. But this time the United States, they have a different adversary. With the Artemis program, NASA is aiming to send astronauts back to the lunar surface for the first time in more than 50 years. But this time, the goal goes beyond exploration. It is about building a long-term presence and laying the groundwork for future missions to Mars. Now, at the same time, China is moving quickly with its own plans to land astronauts on the moon within the next decade and potentially establish a permanent base. So are we witnessing a new space race? And why has the moon suddenly become so important again? Let's head over to Dean Cheng, a non-resident fellow at the George Washington University Space Policy Institute, joins us on the line. Dean, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
So is it on? Is it on? U.S. versus China to the moon?
It is, but it's, as you said, a very different race. If you look at the space race of the 1960s, that was a sprint. Who was going to land humans on the moon first wins. For both China and the United States, this is much more of a marathon, or really a relay of marathons. Get to the moon. Establish permanent facilities on the moon, both robotic and human. Exploit the resources on the moon, especially water, and then lay the foundations for eventually going deeper into the solar system.
So I appreciate how you put it there, right? Not a sprint, it's a marathon, but there certainly are things like bragging rights. There certainly is things like national pride. You know, I wasn't alive, but you hear the stories about what happened when the Soviets had initially taken the lead, right? In certain respects in that space race in the 50s and 60s, how that was not good for the psyche, right? So let's talk about that front here. How important is it that the next people that land on the moon, that if they come from the U.S. or China, how important are those bragging rights to be first?
Well, from the Chinese perspective, one, the Americans already did in 1969, so there's not a race to be first on the moon. The Chinese basically know that, if the Americans landed 3 weeks from now, let's say, okay, you did it in 69, you did it again, congratulations.
Yeah.
We're not here to race with you about that. If, however, the Chinese beat the Americans to the moon by, let's say, 2029 or 2030, then it becomes a very interesting narrative, because how come the Americans who went in 1969 can't do it again?
Yeah. And
I mean, this is classic tortoise and the hare.
Totally. And how do you handicap the race right now on who will get there next, first/next? How do you handicap that race between China and the U.S.?
Well, let's get the astronauts from Artemis 2 down safely. If that occurs, and we all, I think, hope that that's the case. That's a major milestone with regards to the spacecraft, with regards to the launch vehicles, etc. The Chinese are facing a real challenge here because they have a fairly complex mission profile, including multiple launches of the Long March 10 rocket, which is still prototyping. So I think both sides face the possibility of engineering challenges going forward. My mama didn't raise me to be a horse bettor, so I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to handicap it very well beyond that.
All right, so let's talk about that marathon that you referenced. And, okay, what are the ultimate goals here on the moon? A base, to what end? What do they want to accomplish on the surface of the moon?
So one of the things to keep in mind is the importance of water. Water you can break down to hydrogen and oxygen. Obviously, you can breathe the oxygen. You need to drink water. If you're going to manufacture everything from rocket fuel to anything else, almost, you're going to want water. So this is why the South Pole is so important. You have a lot of craters, some of which have not seen light in literally millions of years. So the assumption is that there is ice, and in fact, sensors have found have detected ice at the South Pole, a little bit also at the North Pole. So the idea is land at the South Pole eventually, go into these incredibly dark areas, find the water, mine that, which will be an ice form, mine the ice, bring it out, process it, and use it to make rocket fuel. The gravity on the moon is less than Earth, so if I wanted to go further out, let's say to Mars, if I wanted to deploy a lunar navigation constellation or something like that, launching from the moon is easier, cheaper than coming from Earth.
Now, is this all being done in a sort of Star Trek, exploration is our goal, or are there other things at play? Is this being viewed as, hey, this is the next way we can make money, or this is the next way we can lead in AI or other science and technology? That, like, how do you view that aspect here? Why are we doing it?
It's a combination. So if you ask the scientists, it's a bit like Sir Edmund Hillary because it's there. If you talk to people who are thinking about geopolitical competition, it's about bragging rights, about reputation. If you think about it from a commercial perspective, and the Chinese do, one of the things is to basically say, we are building precise manufacturing, rocket bodies, engines, things like that, that are so good, we will trust our astronauts' lives to it. So you in Brazil, you in the UAE, you in Canada, you should buy our equipment because it's just that good. And beyond that, there are issues of how do you manage constellations that are as far away as the moon and eventually Mars. And the answer to that is partly artificial intelligence. So this is a real-life application for everything from formation flying of satellites to autonomous flying, if you will, to avoid collisions. And that's a huge laboratory for lessons learned.
Dean, last question. Is the moon big enough for two superpowers?
Two superpowers that don't like each other, I'm not sure the galaxy's big enough.
Wow. Okay, we'll leave it there. Hey, Dean, I'm going to give you a Spock fascinating on our discussion here. It really was fascinating. Thanks so much.
Live long and prosper.
Dean Cheng right there, non-resident fellow at the George Washington University Space Policy Institute.
Canadian women are looking for more out of themselves, their businesses, their elected leaders, and the world around them.
And that's why we're thrilled to introduce the Honest Talk podcast.
I'm Jennifer Stewart.
And I'm Catherine Clark. And in this podcast, we interview Canada's most inspiring women.
Entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, politicians, and newsmakers, all at different stages of their journey.
So if you're looking to connect, then we hope you'll join us.
Listen to the Honest Talk podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcasts.